Hey guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. I'm so glad you're here. Today, we're continuing on Endgame. This is my third video in this series, but even if you haven't watched the other two, who cares? Let's keep talking about Endgame. If you're following along with me, please don't. I got this book from the library. Don't buy this book. I am finishing up chapter 2, and then I'm going to talk about chapter 3, chapter 4 in this video. You guys, I knew that this book would be garbage. We all knew it, right? We knew it just based on who wrote it. We knew it based on the subject matter in terms of Harry and Meghan. We knew it based on the reviews we had seen. But to read it, to see it with my own eyes, to take notes on this, I just cannot stress to you enough I gotta find a new word for garbage. What a big pile of you-know-what this is. It is the most biased, one-sided story work of fiction I have ever seen in my life. We're going to get into it. I'm going to discuss it all with you. I'm Jen. Thank you for being here. If you're new here, welcome. I'm not usually this PO'd, but I am PO'd today because this book sucks. But I love you geese and ganders and goslings so much. And if you're new here, honk honk. I honk because one of Meghan's cronies told me I sound like a drunk goose. And I love that. And ever since I have been Lady Goose, if you will. Anyway, all right, let's get into this book. You guys know me. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. I do. I appreciate all the lovely feedback, all the kind words, all the sympathy you guys have expressed on my behalf for reading this book. All right. This book, oh my gosh. Let's finish up chapter 2 here. If you are looking along with me, I'm picking up on page 48. And again, we're going to go through the end of chapter 4. I can tell you that chapter 4 is hot garbage. I can spend about 1 minute on it because Omid didn't know what the hell he was doing in that part. Well, in any of it, but especially that chapter. He just kind of threw shit together. So we'll get there. All right, chapter 2, finishing up. My goodness, I don't even know where to start with this. All right. All about this whole book has been dig after dig at Charles, especially King Charles. And we've all said it. This is Spare Part 2. This is Harry's voice. This is the same stuff Harry was saying in his book. The same nonsense he was peddling is getting peddled in this book. So I know it's coming more for William. I know it's coming more for Catherine, but right now I'm in the thick of them, I would say, bashing King Charles at this point. They definitely throw digs at Camilla, and I know some gross stuff's coming. I've seen previews. But right now it's Charles especially. Now, saying that, I'm going to start this review off by saying he kicks this part of the book off by talking shit about William, Prince of Wales. Basically, he's saying that William abandons the never complain, never explain of it all. All right. So my first note here is, okay, so Omid has spent the prologue in chapter 1 saying, since the queen passed, the monarchy is going to have to change. The royal family is going to have to change. It's getting dated, right? So he called the monarchy dated, and William tries to change things up exactly by what Omid's saying, and yet you're criticizing him? Okay, again, I really think Omid is a puppet for these two. We've been through it. And I feel like this is just Harry with his anger, jealousy, envy, whatever you want to call it, and his weird grievances that he keeps a list of, right? Written in crayon. And this is just him. This is what we're getting on these pages right here. So continuing on to page 48, we get into William, and it says that William ignored King Charles' advice, and it goes into him letting bravado obscure judgment. So he's claiming that William is in this for the bravado. And I say, again, what? Have you not noticed Harry and Meghan do everything for attention? William just doesn't strike me as that kind. I mean, we learned of him going for a jog in New York City. We don't have pictures of it, but we learned about it, right? And yet if it had been Harry and Meghan, it would have been a near catastrophic car chase. There would have been pictures. There would have been a big blinking deal made out of it. But William just doesn't seem to operate like that. These claims are so asinine. Continuing on. So page 49, he talks bad about King Charles and literally says that Charles has an inability to convene and command his own family. Okay. He's saying that in regards to Harry and Meghan. So that's the point. That's where I'm really pissed off. I mean, so many reasons, but one of the things that's really ticking me off about this book, there is no holding Harry and Meghan accountable at all for any of their actions. They can do no wrong. Of course, we know this by how they feel and how they portray themselves, but it's so wild to see it through Omid's point of view, drinking whatever they're selling. I don't know what the phrase is, but you know what I mean? Like, he's just blindly following them and pushing their agenda, if you ask me. So I find it so weird that, again, I don't find it weird. He's their puppet. It's just what he does. But I'm saying it's just weird to see it. There's something about seeing this in print, and I'm not recommending you buy this book, but I'm just telling you, take my word on it. It's weird to see how he just takes all these digs over and over, especially at King Charles, but he's not recognizing that it's Harry and Meghan that have caused all this controversy and caused King Charles and Prince William, etc., to react to things that they have done. Instead, he focuses on reactions. And so that's why I say this book is bullshit. We know this. Continuing on, he couldn't stop gushing about Spare. Again, on page 49, he calls it a full, unvarnished story of the family's fractures and talks, I'm not kidding you guys, I cannot make this stuff up. He calls it, quote, historical record. He talks about being a historical record. No. It's, I've said before, I'm actually glad that Harry put some of that stuff in print because it's a historical record of the lies that they continue to tell, the grievances that Harry continues to hold on to with no explanation or no backstory. It's just it's like him in court. I think about that a lot. Like when they asked him, Harry, what proof do you have? And he's like, it's just a feeling I have. Harry is just like that. I don't want to call him an immature child because that's letting him off the hook too easily. I think he's got some serious issues, truthfully. I think they both do. I think all three of them do, actually. But I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose. Let's keep going. So he spins it, again, going back, he's talking about the Spare as part of a historical record. Spins it as Charles then avoiding Harry and not wanting to discuss this. Could it be that Harry did wrong here by airing the family laundry? And I don't believe anything that Harry says. Let me put that out there. But even if it's kind of true, some of it, is this the place to do it, to air it to everybody, to say all these horrible things about your family and then act surprised when they don't want to talk to you? That's just how Harry, Meghan, and now Omid operate. They act like it's a shock, and then they blame the royal family for not wanting to talk to Harry after that. Page 50, they continue to, I don't know, kiss Harry's ass. It's really weird because he goes into making Harry the, quote, bigger person. So again, Harry did nothing wrong, according to Omid, Harry, and Meghan. Harry did nothing wrong. He had no part to play in this rift with the family. They try to paint him as a bigger person. If he says it enough, we'll believe it, right? Yeah, right. And if he didn't reach out, there wouldn't be progress. That's what Omid says. Can you believe this? The audacity. And if you watch Real Housewives, you understand that Ramona Singer says the audacity of these three. But I'm talking about especially Harry and Meghan and not taking any responsibility or accountability for any of their actions whatsoever. It's all about how the royal family reacted to them and then using it against them as a sign that the royal family is what? Endgame failing? He can't even make a logical argument, so I'm having trouble breaking it down because there is no logic to this. There is none. Omid claims that Harry and Meghan would try to share issues with the royal family, but that aides would muddy the truths. Again, haven't we heard this song and dance from them before? This is the same crap that Harry pulled when he talked about the Queen and the Sandringham Summit. I think about that a lot. He tries to take... It pissed me off so bad because the Queen was very much a part, everything we've heard from every book we've read, the Queen was very much a part of that Sandringham Summit. But Harry painted her as this feeble, elderly lady incapable of making decisions and led around by her aides. And now he's doing that via Omid with King Charles. And he's saying that these aides muddy the truths. I'm sorry, I would never look to Harry, Meghan, or Omid for any kind of quote-unquote truth. They don't know truth. It doesn't exist with them. They just go by things like their truth. All right, so then this chapter ends. You ready to get real pissed? Me too. All right. Oh, yeah, that means something different in UK. I don't mean drunk. I mean mad. All right, ready to get real mad? Me too. This chapter ends by trying to paint Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh. I always get comments on how I say Edinburgh. You have to give me a break. I'm American. I'm not from these places. I'm trying my best. All right. I'm not the enemy here. Omid, Harry, and Meghan are. Okay. They try to paint Sophie a certain way. You know where I'm going with this. Because she responded, Oprah who? And this is according to Omid. So I don't even believe that she did. But let's say she did. Here's my question for you. Why is it different that Sophie allegedly responded, Oprah who, then when Meghan played dumb in front of the world and was like, who's has? And pretended to not know the royal family. Obviously, we know that's BS, but go with me on this journey. How is that different? How is what Sophie said different? It's not. Sophie's actually makes more sense to me than Meghan's does. I'm just saying. We can split hairs on who's more famous, but come on, it's the royal family. It's the Queen. Meghan played pretend that she didn't know how to curtsy. You know what I mean? And who was who in the royal family? I mean, come on. And Harry's just sitting next to her making this stupid face, trying to buy it hook, line, and sinker. It's ridiculous. But it's my opinion that obviously they're doing this because Sophie is another respected, valued, awesome member of the royal family, right? Another royal woman. And once again, we know Meghan seems to have a problem with that. So, of course, Omid's now got a problem with her. I just think it's ridiculous. And honestly, what I really think he's doing is trying to pander, thinking that people will be like, whoa, that's a dig against Oprah, or, oh, that's, the Eastwards. That's what he's hoping for. But people aren't buying it because this is bullshit. Let's go on to chapter 3, shall we? All right. 5 days after the Queen passed, they go... All right, this chapter. All right. He goes into Charles's frustration over a leaky pen. We've all seen it, right? Where Charles gets pissed over a leaky pen. I'm sorry, is Charles not allowed to mourn the passing of his mother? He's not allowed to be a little upset and act a little childish? Okay, listen, I've said it before. I respect Charles and his role. I'm not the biggest Charles fan. I'm not a, detractor or whatever from him. But my heart lies with William and Catherine. Take that how you will, right? So it's not that I'm standing up for Charles, but I'm truly asking, is he not allowed to get frustrated by a pen? Is he not allowed to be upset within 5 days of taking over as the king and losing his mother? I mean, come on. Pick on him for some things, but a leaky pen, ridiculous. And the reason I'm making such a big deal out of this is because Omid made such a big deal about it. When I tell you this went on for several pages, I'm not exaggerating. I'm really not. You can see it for yourself. Don't get this book. You can take my word on it. He goes on. And then you think, oh, he's moved on from the damn leaky pen story. No, I'm not kidding. The next page, I literally wrote a page later, still on about the faulty pen. By the way, how much do I sound like a UK person? I love it. What are you on about? Anyway, I love you. I love UK expressions so much. He's still on about the leaky, faulty pen. Talking about Omid is. The only one that can't seem to let this go is Omid. It's so weird. And again, I point back to Harry. This reeks of Harry. Because the whole book Spare was his list of grievances that nobody else cares about except for the hyper-focused Harry. Such as, who got the bigger breakfast sausage? Yes, that actually was something that he went on about in Spare. All right. So then we continue on. Chapter 3. All right. He goes into, by the way, this chapter is called, Oh God, I Hate This. And that's, again, in regards to the leaky pen. That's what Charles said. Oh God, I hate this pen. But then Omid just cuts off the pen word to make it more dramatic. There you go. What a hack. Page 67, he goes into coronation. And this fucker, talking about Omid and Harry and Meghan, has the nerve to call the coronation a way to gloss over reality. I'm sorry, who is looking to Harry, Omid, and Meghan for reality on anything? Those three do not know reality. It's the same with the truth thing. When they call out people for mistruths or lies or whatever, it's like, oh, what? How are the three of you able to seriously keep a straight face when you try to call out anybody on anything? You three are the biggest bunch of liars I've ever seen in my life. And that's saying something. Page 67, he goes on to brag about Harry and Meghan's Netflix, whatever, Live Fest documentary, whatever you want to call it. He goes on to claim that King Charles was initially sympathetic about all of it, but then, you ready for this? Again, Harry claimed this in his book, that Charles was all about the attention. So Charles, according to Omid / Harry and Meghan, was mad because that Netflix documentary overshadowed his work. It eclipsed Charles and Camilla at every turn. Okay. I don't think that's what Charles was mad at. Probably because his son and daughter-in-law went on TV, made all these horrible claims about the family without actually discussing it with them, right? I mean, but again, leave it to Omid to take the completely wrong route and lead to the wrong whatever outcome on this one, right? I just think it's so crazy. Let's pretend like they're onto something here. And King Charles is really about the attention. Right now in real time, wouldn't we see King Charles speaking out about his idiot son and his idiot daughter-in-law and this idiot Omid? Right? Because then it would get him attention. People are hoping that he'll, I don't know, step in and... I know, I always get a million comments. He can't strip their titles, whatever. You think he'd be speaking out about that if he was in this for attention. He's not. He's remained tight-lipped. He really hasn't said much, and he really hasn't said much about this book at all. It's just another book, right? I think that's what the palace said, something like that. So to me, that just negates everything they're saying. It doesn't make sense, because if Charles was in this for the attention, this right now is a time to get attention. And he's not doing it. He's remaining silent. And that's, I mean, honestly, that's the best possible response, because what can you say to these three liars? What's that saying about giving them enough rope? That's what they've done. We can see it now. They're going down for their lies, and it's so much fun to watch. All right. Page 71, we get into Princess Anne of it all. You know, I love Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, and the Frogmore of it all. There's not really much to say. I know people have been reporting on it. I'm stalling while I pull up the page. Hold on, because I'm trying to remember. I just wrote Anne Frogmore. Grr. You should see my notes. Seriously, I keep a legal pad next to me while I'm reading, because this is a library book. I can't make notes in the book, so I just make notes on my paper, and I'm like, Arr. All right, here we go. Page 71, it says, well, I can't directly read from the book because Omid, looking for any reason, so I'll just summarize it for you. In my opinion, what he's saying here, wink, wink, is that excuse me, it was Princess Anne who suggested that Charles take away Frogmore. And you know what? You know what's funny about this? I know why they did it. I know they're doing it so people will be like, oh, how could she? Oh, that's so mean. But no, it's had the opposite effect. I don't know about you guys, but I do know about you guys. A lot of you guys seem to share the same feeling that we love Princess Anne, Princess Royal. She's amazing. And so the thought that she had anything to do with that, oh, makes me love her even more, right? I do. I love her. I think she's wonderful. And just a reminder, when I went to Coronation, I got to see Princess Anne. She waved to us. So I love her even more. So the idea that she had anything to do with the grifters being evicted, oh, amazing. It makes my heart so happy. But I also want to take this time to remind everybody that in Spare, Harry made sure to let us all know. He took shots at Princess Anne as well. He tried to put her down by saying basically she was the hardest working royal, but then he kind of danced around that, oh, some of her gigs aren't hard. You know, he tried to discredit how much work she does is the way I interpreted that. And so the fact that they're taking shots at her again, I ask you again, who wrote this book? Because it sure seems like it's Harry and Meghan. So this book is jumping all around. So at this point, he goes into Harry's ITV interview with Tom Bradby. And he just cannot say enough good things about Harry and Meghan and all the attention they're getting while putting down King Charles and how he's apparently, allegedly jealous. I can't say that without laughing. Jealous of the attention that Harold Fraud, Hank and Skank are receiving. Something tells me the king is not jealous of Harry and Meghan. Nobody's jealous of Harry and Meghan. Despite how many times the sugars put that in my comments. You're jealous. No, I'm really, really not. But thanks. Hi, Meghan. All right. So he goes into the Tom Bradby of it all. And again, what I find just absolutely interesting is, he forgets to mention, big underlining under forgets, that Harry then changes his story and blames the media and says he never called his family the S word that he so clearly had before. It's the same dance that Omid's playing now, where you're just not able to tell the truth, so you dance around it and use words thinking that you're outsmarting everybody, but yet everybody can see right through you. Oh, but then you ready for this? Okay, cool. So then he goes on to paint Harry and Meghan right after that. Charles is jealous of them because they're international superstars because of an ITV interview. He paints them once again as victims who need security. You guys, I cannot with this BS. They need security. And so what was their suggestion? Ready for this? That they stay at Windsor because, they have security there. I'm sure you've heard the stories. I've heard the stories. I still have to say allegedly because we know who we're dealing with, that allegedly the wife wanted, I can't say that part without laughing either, wanted Windsor Castle for them, just to live in, just to have. It's just theirs. Oh, it's too funny. Too funny. Side note, Windsor Castle will always be near and dear to my heart. It's one of my favorite places in the entire world. I love it. I've been fortunate enough to go there twice. I've been in the chapel. I've been to where the Queen was laid to rest. I will never forget that moment of just being in proximity and just the beautiful area. So I will always feel strongly about Windsor. I think it's the most beautiful area. It's one of my favorite places in the world, one of my favorite places of England, and that's saying something because I loved England so much, but I loved Windsor. So when these two bring up this stuff, I really take it personally, like, how fucking dare you think that you're going to get Windsor? Yeah, right. God, these two. All right. But he paints them as victims who need security. I told you that. So they pitch Windsor, and Charles... Omid goes on to call Charles petty and says all because of the eviction, and says it's because on page 74, because he was overshadowed by his younger son. Again, I'd say, what are you three talking about? They're confusing the negative attention that Harry and Meghan have gotten, have have had and have continued to receive, and especially now are receiving with popularity. It is the biggest bunch of BS delusion I've ever seen. And again, Omid is perfect for this because he plays right along with them. Okay, and then we go into chapter 4. And honestly, I'm going to keep this one brief because this is where Omid, I'd say part of chapter 3 and chapter 4, he's just all over the place. There's no through line. There's no cohesive theme to follow. He's all over the place with dates and times and jumping back and forth. He's talking about he's back to when the Queen was alive in June of 2022, her Platinum Jubilee, and then again dancing around Harry and Meghan's Netflix thing. So it's just, to me, any excuse to bring up that Netflix thing and Harry's book. Again, who in their right mind could ever think this wasn't a plug by Harry and Meghan? But he does start off going into the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, Trooping the Color. He makes it about himself, what he was doing at the time to Omid, and his perception of the firm. I don't care. I don't care about Omid, so we're going to skip over this. On page 88, this is rich. He goes into Harry's military. Again, I tell you, he's all over the place. Going into Harry's military service. And I'm not even joking you. He says in this book that the palace leaned into coverage of Harry's military service because it allowed it to boost itself, talking about, I can't even make this stuff up, talking about the palace. The palace leaned into it to boost itself. And I say, no. Once again, Omid, you have gotten this so completely wrong and you're so completely delusional. I feel like they probably covered it because Harry was what? Useless, hapless, aimless, what? Dickless, heartless, you name it. All the things, right? No, he's useless. And they saw it and thought, oh, well, maybe this is an opportunity to give him direction, right? We've seen the Harry what Harry's like without the help of the palace covering for him, and it's not good. And so again, this is my assumption, but I'm saying, of course, shocker, Omid's got this all wrong, and the palace just thought this will give him direction. Let's cover it in a positive light. And so that's what they did. But Omid likes to paint everything as pro Harry and Meghan, anti-palace / royal family. So he's saying that they saw it and used this opportunity to better themselves. He doesn't explain how. He can't explain how because it literally makes no sense. Then he goes into, I'm telling you, this book is all over the place. It's not me that's jumping around timeline. It's him. He goes right into bands / musicians that refuse to play at coronation. So he's back to talking about coronation. Way to stick to the timeline, asshole. I'm not going to go over this list because I don't believe this list. I really don't. The only name I will mention is because it's been in the news a lot lately. I'm sure you've seen it. I've had people talk about it on my page. Taylor Swift is one of the names named. And from what I understand, the Swifties are pissed at Omid. And I say, hey, great. The more that are pissed at Omid, the better. You know? Like, the more people that can see through his lies and antics and call him out, the better. And then the chapter wraps up by, I can't even tell you, it just, this nonsense. He talks about, I'm going to sound like I'm 1,000, the youth. He goes into Gen Z. And I find this funny because I want to remind you that Piers Morgan and so many have called out Omid for blatantly lying about his age. And while normally I'd be like, well, yeah, that's what celebrities or people in Hollywood do, but he's not that. He's not that. And he's determined to call out everybody else on their lies. So I find it funny that somebody known about lying about his age is talking about what the youths, I'm saying it like that because, what's that movie? My Cousin Vinny, youths. What the Gen Z are into or whatever. It's just so ridiculous. So ridiculous. I hear the words coming out of my mouth and I'm just like, oh, this is so stupid. But he's kissing their asses, trying to get them on his side, and says Gen Z are determined to remain awake. What he's trying to do is say, don't fall for the royal family. Stick with Harry and Meghan. We need you on our side. Oh, God. And that's basically how the that's it. That's how that chapter wraps up. That's the end of chapter 4. You guys, this is so crazy. I can't explain to you enough. I can't impress upon you enough how much this book is painting Harry and Meghan like they can do zero wrong. Everything they do is perfect, whereas every single move the royal family makes is completely wrong. Can't do anything right. I talked about in the last episode, he called out Catherine for wearing a rented dress to Earthshot and then not doing that again. And then, excuse me, he goes into Charles, King Charles, here, and his leaky pen. I'm telling you, for pages, he talked about this damn leaky pen. I was like, this is the worst writing I've ever seen. And he just is so busy looking for any example he can to paint the royal family in a negative light. And everything Harry and Meghan do is perfect. So you tell me who wrote this book. Because it sure as shit sounds like stuff that we've heard from Harry and Meghan previously and how they act constantly. And again, all I can say is I'm so thankful that now an even bigger audience, we already knew, but an even bigger audience is starting to see, hey, these three lie about everything. Hey, these two especially lie about everything, and their lapdog covers it. So, goodness gracious. So I'm going to leave this one here. Again, that is through that reaches up to chapter 5. We'll keep going. I want to continue to call out their lives, so we'll keep going with this. Thank you guys for all the love and support and for sticking with me through this. I want you to know how much I appreciate it. Send my support goose. I could use it. Pour me some tea and save me a seat. We'll talk about this book. But truly, I appreciate you guys so much. Listen, if you want to further support the show, I tell you all the time, definitely check out the merch. We have Not Bloody Likely, which is a sentence I could say after everything. Every sentence I read in this book, I want to yell, not bloody likely. But yeah, we have that. We have Recollections May Vary. We have Make It Make Sense. And of course, we have Drunk Goose Club. Honk honk, everybody. And we have Patreon, patreon.com/Real Housewives Recaps. That's where you can become an executive producer like the lovely ladies and gents you see on the screen before you. And that's where you can get my bonus episodes, my deep dives. If you're a fan at all of like Sex and the City, I recap the whole series over there. You can find all that. You can find tons of stuff. Hundreds of videos over there. So go check that out. Thank you guys for everything. Thank you for all the love and support. And normally I like to end it by saying, I can't wait to bring you more stuff like this. I'm not looking forward to more of this, but I am looking forward to having a conversation with you all about more stuff like this, calling out the lies and the BS and, holding them accountable for all of it. Thank you guys for everything. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.